Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL's College Football Gambling Locks Week 6. Slow down, man. We're already at Week 6. It just feels like you wait so long for it to get here, and then the game of the year has already happened, and you're like, are we going to get a game better than that? It needs to slow down. A lot of games. Interesting week. A lot of dogs on the slate that I like, but we'll get into that. Texas State and Troy to start us off on Thursday. Nothing? Good. Hate that game. Sam Houston State and UTEP. Ooh. Nothing. Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State, the Owls. Giving up 16.5. Nobody? All right. We'll move. And I like it. We're just firing through. We don't like them. We don't like them. Houston and TCU.
No. Gross.
This might be the most interesting line that I've seen so far. Of course, a lot of these games have been crap. UNLV minus 6.5. I guess Syracuse does have to travel across the country. They looked really good last week with their backup quarterback and Sluka opting out and everything. They were probably the play of the week. I mean, they absolutely blew Fresno State out of the water. Syracuse catching 6.5 here.
Yeah, that was the comment we made on the show. We said UNLV was liable to come out live, but Fresno State's a good G5 team, so stayed off. But yeah, that was the correct read.
Haj Malik Williams is good, man. UNLV is good. Actually, if this gets to 7, I'll be interested in Syracuse. So,
Michigan State and Oregon. Michigan State just couldn't cover for me Saturday.
Oregon look ahead to Ohio State, maybe. Anybody?
For sure. I mean, listen, Oregon I don't know if they've covered. I don't think they've covered a spread this far.
Yeah,
I mean they didn't cover against
UCLA. They can't be looking.
They covered Oregon State, I think. But that was it.
Yes, they did cover Oregon State. Yes, I remember that. I don't know if I can go back to the well with Michigan State after they only put up 7 points against Ohio State.
I like the under here.
But I do think Michigan State could definitely cover this 23.5. Penn State and UCLA. UCLA heading across the country for a classic Big Ten matchup. It's crazy,
State,
some of these trials.
Penn State goes to USC next week. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. UCLA is just horrible.
Horrible.
Bad.
Horrible. You know, it's crazy. I picked up that UCLA Oregon under on Saturday morning, laughing to myself about how that quarterback looked like a Heisman frontrunner against LSU.
SMU and Louisville. I like this game. I'll take the Mustangs against Louisville.
SMU's good.
I mean, SMU's pretty good. I just don't think there's much of a difference between these two teams, to be honest.
Well, it's interesting you said SMU's good. I was going to say everyone seemed to have gotten off of them when they struggled with Nevada and then they lost to BYU, which actually ends up looking
BYU's a good team.
Yeah, and so everyone hopped off them. They went to their bye week and they've kind of been kicking ass since with FSU and TCU. Yeah. So I wonder if they're live back here, if they can pull off a win.
I think they're live. I mean, listen, I watched that Louisville Notre Dame game, and Louisville was better than Notre Dame, but I think that says more about Notre Dame than it does Louisville. I like the Mustangs. You can put that one on my board. Boston College and UVA. Gross, but Boston College catching a point.
Well, I don't think you can touch it. I think it's a Castellanos thing. I think he might still be out. They're a different team without him. Their backup sucked last week.
Yeah. Purdue and Wisconsin. Purdue might be the worst team in Power 5.
Horrible. Yeah.
I mean, they are absolutely atrocious.
But Wisconsin's 0-4 against the spread. This isn't working. Is this working in Wisconsin with Fickle? I don't think it's working.
No, I don't think it's working. I mean, they came out and played.
What's crazy is how do you build up
USC and then just
they did. They were live for a while.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is ripe for somebody to come in there and do some good things. So it says a lot about Fickle, in my opinion.
Pitt and UNC. Is Duke the luckiest team ever, man?
Yes, we will. I will touch on that.
We'll get to Duke.
Wake and NC State, mighty NC State, big win.
Two teams that haven't covered all year.
I'm looking at Wake and possibly the over here just because NC State looks so bad, and we say it every week, but they look so bad. Last week they beat NIU by 7 in a game where NIU outgained them. And NIU had 4 turnovers. 2 of those turnovers were in their own territory that gave NC State 14 points. And NIU just gave the game away. Like NC State is just so bad. And Wake's not very good either. But Wake, we at least know, can consistently score. They score a lot of points. I think Wake is totally live to win this game. Now, their defense is bad, which is also why I like the over. So I might take both. But I think Wake is totally live to win this.
UMass and NIU. Speaking of NIU.
Is this a look ahead? UMass looking ahead to Missouri next week?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'll tell you, Missouri's up next, 12 o'clock. One of the games of the week, I think. Texas A&M actually favored in this game, 2 points over Missouri, who's number 9 in the country. Missouri just hasn't looked good. They've gotten lucky not to lose. They got very lucky against Vanderbilt. But
Jesus, buddy.
That's all right.
Keep going.
Yeah. We got dog problems. But Texas do you like Texas A&M or Missouri?
I mean, I feel like both of these teams just play close games. Like, can we see one of these teams play a really good competitive game? But I think Missouri's probably just overrated. So I would lean A&M. Not to mention Missouri's A&M's playing. I think his name's Marcel Reed, the backup, who actually looks kind of nice. But we saw Missouri with Castellanos and even with Diego Pavia for Vanderbilt, who they both ran on Missouri pretty well. I imagine Reed will do the same thing unless Missouri locks in and fixes that. But I guess I would lean A&M. I'm not going to bet it though.
Yeah, I don't know how it's possible. But I'm disappointed with Missouri this year. I mean, it is Missouri, but I expected
there's a loss coming quick. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's this week against A&M.
They're a bad football team. Like they're straight up like for the in terms of preseason expectations, at least mine. I thought they were going to be sneaky good.
Yeah, I think
me and Larsen, you can't be sneaky if you won the Sugar Bowl. Me and Larsen were talking about it. They were just due for some regression, but their schedule was so soft I was too afraid to call it. But I mean,
so that's what me and Chase were talking about. That they
don't play.
They need to win this game. They'll lose to Bama, and they're going to get in.
Yeah, but they'll lose. They're going to lose.
Even if they lose one more game. So even if they lose this game and Bama,
no. I think people will see them for the frauds that they are, especially with no good wins on their resume and an overtime loss to Vandy might as well be a loss. Like the fact that we have at least some sort of human element, and I know they won't always knock you too much, but you go overtime with Vandy and then you have 2 losses and you don't have any good wins, like you're not getting in the college football playoff. I will say there's a lot of bad teams this year, so it could be Missouri. I mean, there is not 12 good football teams, so if Missouri got in, I wouldn't be shocked, but they're not going to have a very good resume.
Yeah, I think we asked if they lost one game, would they be out of the playoff with the schedule? I don't know.
If it's Bama, for sure.
I don't think any way they'll be out after just one game. I mean, if you just look around the league, I mean, it's just bad football after bad football. I mean, look at the top 9 teams. You got Missouri, Ole Miss, LSU, and Michigan, 9 through 13. Are any of those teams good? No. I'll answer you that question, and that includes my Tigers. Like none of those teams belong in the playoffs, and 2 or 3 of them are going to get in. Navy and Air Force. Hey, man, if you've been fading the armed forces, Alex, you're losing a lot of money. Army and Navy are playing great football. I don't know so much about Air Force, but Navy's been a wrecking ball. I watched
Air Force has been really bad. They lost. Yeah. I think they almost lost to Merrimack. They gave up a ton of rushing yards. I don't know how they're going to stop Navy, but the fact that this is -10 is fishy enough to keep me away.
Super fishy, and only a 35.5 point over. I mean, there must be a ton of weather or something because Navy's got a good offense. I mean, they're scoring points. They scored 41 last week. They scored 50-something against Memphis.
I'm going to go under.
They can throw.
Thank you for your service, but you guys suck at football.
They can throw. Navy can throw and run. They can do both. I think it's just like the play style. It's just it's all option and running, so it's harder to cover.
I need a couple of 9-minute drives that end inside of the red zone. Those how many of those have you ever seen from a service academy?
A million. Army playing Tulsa, laying 12.5. Army's been really good too.
Yeah. I mean,
could Army Navy have playoff implications this year?
Maybe the worst.
Yeah,
they could. Maybe the worst bet of last week. Bet fading Tulane with USF. Holy hell! That game was over 2 quarters in.
Yeah. No, I think quarters, buddy. It was over about 5 minutes in for me.
Yeah.
I think, what was it? 14-0. I mean,
I had the split screen and they were in the bottom right, and every time I looked up, Tulane was scoring.
yeah. That's on me. My bad.
Larsen and I were texting, and I was like, these guys are giving up about 8 yards a carry before anybody even gets touched. I knew that was going to be an ugly one. They were running at will.
And turnover. I think they lost the turnover, but everything about it was bad. We're gonna move on.
Western Michigan and Ball State, Eastern Carolina and
Charlotte. By the way,
Temple and Connecticut. How about UConn?
Yeah.
UConn is playing some good football.
Hell yeah. 2 weeks in a row I've taken them. They've covered for me. I want to take them again here. I think this line may not be caught up enough to how good UConn is and how bad Temple is. And UConn's blowing out teams. I mean, they're winning by 30 or 40. I think this could be a blowout spot, so I want to take UConn. Also, I do like East Carolina in that last game, East Carolina and Charlotte. But UConn, man, UConn's going to the playoff.
Yeah. Iowa and Ohio State, baby. Oh, what a barn burner this is going to be. Ohio State's offense hasn't looked that good. I mean, defensively, they played great.
Yeah.
They look good.
You don't necessarily need a lot of
in,
offense.
They clicked in some aspects on.
You don't need a lot of offense
Michigan
to beat
State.
Iowa.
No, you don't.
They might not score a point this game.
Yeah, I mean, is this an under? I don't know. I don't really know. And Ohio State's got Oregon next week. I don't really know how to approach it. Doesn't Ohio State start slow in this game when they play all the time? I feel like.
Yeah, because I bet them first half to cover first half of last year, I think, and then they got the punt block to return for a touchdown. They didn't even give up any other points, and they still.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. So I don't know.
Here we go. Another good 3:31. South Carolina against Ole Miss. Now I don't know if Trey Sellers is going to play. Their running backs hurt. Trey Sanders. I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I mean, I feel like if those guys end up playing, they did practice. I like South Carolina. I know Ole Miss is better than they played against Kentucky, but if Robbie Ashford's starting, they're not going to score any points.
I don't know, man. Maybe Kentucky might just be not that bad. Maybe they just had one bad game against South Carolina, and I mean, ever since then they've been fine.
Right. No, I agree. I think South Carolina's pretty good. That's what I'm saying.
I think the difference. Go ahead, Larsen.
I was just going to say, because you touched on Ole Miss, Ole Miss was better, I think, than people might have given them credit for for last week. Like they outgained Kentucky on a lot less plays. They sacked Kentucky 5 times, and Ole Miss was 1 for 10 on third down. Kentucky was 3 for 3 on fourth downs. Like there was a lot of variance in that game that went Kentucky's way. It wasn't a fluke or anything. I'm not saying that, but
Kentucky got all the breaks that they should have.
Yeah, and the game could have flipped. Yeah, the game could have flipped a lot of times. I think Kentucky's defense is really good. We know that, and South Carolina's defensive line is good. But the defense as a whole for Carolina is much worse than Kentucky. And I think Ole Miss bounce back spot, I think they're going to be fine. If they give a shit about the game, they should be fine.
Yeah, I'm on Ole Miss. Yeah,
but it is an odd spot coming off a loss and then
they got LSU. I like Ole Miss. Yeah. And, watching LSU play South Carolina, I think told me all I needed to know. Ole Miss has a way better rushing attack than LSU. LSU was still able to run the ball when they put Cade Durham in. The second half all over South Carolina. So South Carolina's pass rush might be elite, but like you said, Larsen, the rest of the defense stinks. And if Ole Miss has any pride whatsoever, they will absolutely run the piss out of the ball until they, that pass rush is stifled. And I think if you watch that LSU South Carolina game, it was gimmicky. They had 3 75-yard touchdowns.
Yeah. The Kentucky fourth down, where was it? They went for 4th and 7 in their own territory and got a 50-yard play. I mean, that's a crazy play.
I'm all over Ole Miss. I don't think South Carolina is that bad of a football team. I just think they match up well because Ole Miss's defense is still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it depends on who starts at quarterback. I mean, if you have Sellers, I think South Carolina's got a good chance. If it's Ashford, they have no chance. Ole Miss's defense will eat him alive.
Probably will jump up, huh?
Georgia and Auburn. I imagine this.
I have some thoughts. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I said I imagine that line is built in with those guys not being 100% and possibly not playing.
Here's my line of thinking. There's 2 ways to think about this. Number one, you really probably don't want to be the team that lines up against Georgia. We saw what it's not going to be like that. But you saw what they did to Florida State after they lost to Alabama. I wouldn't want to be the team that has to play these guys next. The other side of that coin is that this is Hugh Freeze's Super Bowl every year, is beating Auburn or beating Alabama or Georgia. He's going to be pulling out all the stops. And then the other side of that coin again is that Auburn is just not very good. They just don't have that much talent. They have issues at quarterback, and they're playing on the road where they haven't beat Georgia since 2005. So I
think Peyton Thorne did pretty well against Oklahoma, a good Oklahoma defense, other than that back-breaking interception.
The back-breaking pick six that sealed the game.
That Larsen called.
I was about to say, just by the way, if you bet Auburn in this game plus 24, they're going to be down 27, and you're going to have the ball in the fourth quarter, and he's throwing a pick.
Okay, so
just get ready.
I think Georgia comes out and handles business. I agree. I'm not going to touch this game because I just don't know. But Hugh Freeze is – I mean, I know he's a scumbag and he throws players under the ball. He's not the problem in Auburn. Obvious, if the quarterback can just somehow not turn the ball over at a critical juncture in the game, Auburn covers his football game. That's obviously asking a lot for these idiots, though. So
you have to also wonder at what point are Hughes players going to kind of turn on him, because this guy has done nothing for the past 2 weeks but throw him under the bus and talk about how shitty his roster is.
Yeah. Well,
and at a certain point, it's like, buddy, you still got more than half a season left.
Yeah, you're right, and he shouldn't be doing that, but he has literally said nothing wrong.
Given all the variables in this game, I don't know how you bet that game.
I don't know how you bet that game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not betting it. I just wanted to
Coming
The
off
statistics would tell you the right play in this game is probably Auburn team total under, because with the turnovers and everything. But then just looking at the numbers, the last few times they've come to Athens, I think it's 10, 6, and 6. How many points they scored? So you can see it like a 13.5.
I mean, Georgia's defense is absolutely legit. What Jalen Milroe and that Alabama offense did to Georgia in the first half did not shake my opinion a lot, because they executed perfectly. Even when Georgia had Jalen Milroe defended perfectly, he's just the best athlete on the field and made everybody look silly. Georgia's defense is still absolutely for real. So I like that bet. Auburn under team total.
Virginia Tech and Stanford.
Weird spot for Virginia Tech.
For sure.
I mean, you're getting
after that game and then traveling to Stanford.
Travel all the way to Stanford. They've played 2 straight road games now, and I think they struggle really running the ball. Stanford should be able to run the ball a lot. I think Stanford, if they don't cover easily, I think there's a huge backdoor opportunity there.
Indiana and Northwestern. Undefeated Indiana, baby.
I love it.
They've been a machine. They have been a machine.
Indiana has been fantastic this year. Larsen called it in our preseason win totals. Looks like we're going to cruise to that one.
Careful with the total in the Indiana Northwestern game, because everyone's going to say Indiana should blow out Northwestern, win by 20, which they probably should. But I think there's a lot of wind on that stadium that's basically in Lake Michigan. I don't know how they're going to be able to move the ball or anything. So I would look for
Jake said it like 8 times this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miami of Ohio and Toledo. App State and Marshall.
No.
Bowling Green and Akron.
Bowling Green lost as a big favorite last week to Old Dominion.
Yeah. Not good for your Old Dominion.
Not great.
West Virginia and Oklahoma State. Only 3-point game, but Oklahoma State has not been good.
Everyone's taking West Virginia here, and I get it, but I almost think West Virginia hasn't been that great either.
They haven't been good either.
With their back
This is exactly what we thought they would look like last year, and Neil Brown was going to be fired before the 8th game.
Rutgers and Nebraska. Schiano as an underdog.
Yep. This is my first play of the day. Give me the State University of New Jersey.
Let's go.
Yep. I got an experienced defensive-minded coach against a freshman quarterback. Greg Schiano he is the livest dog that's ever been live. Nebraska's been good at covering spreads this year. Sleepy spot here, maybe. Who knows? I'll take Rutgers.
Yeah.
With a low total in that game, too, really favors that. By the way, with Indiana, if Indiana wins, their win total cashes over. And then if Nebraska wins this game, get ready for October 19th, a day full of really good football games where Nebraska at Indiana is one of the big ones, which would be really hype. So I don't have a plan.
When's the last time that game meant something to anybody outside of those two?
Corso was probably coaching them. I don't even know, but I'm excited.
That's what I was going to say.
Only a 23 favorite against Vanderbilt.
Who would have thought that Indiana would be a look-ahead spot at the beginning of the year? Alabama, Vandy, no thanks.
I don't know. Would you go over 55.5? 42-14 final? Boom.
It just feels like Jalen Milroe is about to have a sloppy game.
Yeah, I like the over in this. I mean, I listen. Vanderbilt or Alabama can stop the run, but their secondary is pretty
awful.
Garbage.
Their secondary is awful.
I like the over in that. I can see that.
Yeah.
And I think Milroe is going to be on especially against these bad teams, kind of on a tour. He's so hard to stop. And Ryan Williams is a stud, and their weapons are really good.
Did you know he's only 17?
Yeah. Did you know?
I'm actually going to put that on the board. I like that.
Colorado State and Oregon State. Gross. ULL and USM, a Southern Miss.
How about ULL just whipping Wake Forest last week?
That was a Saturday morning. Sharp.
Yeah.
James Madison. James Madison.
James Madison.
Joe Public is all over this game, boys. I saw about 94% on JMU for this one.
That was a Saturday morning one. I had an over in that JMU game, and they covered the over alone in the first half.
7.
Did anyone follow ULM with me last week? One outright at Troy.
I did.
Let's go General Booty. But JMU, the schedule gets super easy for JMU here. Like if they'll win this, and then they're might be playoff bound.
South Alabama and Arkansas State. South Alabama coming off a tough one against LSU. LSU
really took us to the ringer.
LSU finally covered a spread. We finally found a team bad enough to make LSU.
And all it took was a first play touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, really first 2 plays. I mean, Cade Durham touched the ball twice and had like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about that game. South of Alabama obviously looked like crap last week, but they're playing LSU. Utah State and Boise State. Boise State, Ashton Genty, -155 to have 3 tutties in this game.
That's so stupid.
Best player in America. Best player in America.
That's so stupid. I want to know the guy who's betting that. And you know the guy who's betting that is also betting like $10K. Like he's not like, oh, $100. You're gonna see it on Twitter.
Yeah, but
it's like a better in Michigan just put $300,000.
It'll be in Ohio though. Like mortgaged his potato farm for Ashton Genty 3 touchdowns, and
you can't gamble in Idaho.
And he cashed it in the first half. Yeah, he flew to Vegas.
Rode his steer to Vegas.
Old Dominion only +5 against Coastal Carolina. Scary spot here, Larsen, for the win total.
No, I'm not totally worried here. I mean, Coastal's looked a little unimpressive, but I mentioned it last week. I'll mention it again. It's a second straight road game for ODU. Now they're off of a big win, so it's probably a letdown spot after they beat Bowling Green. But Coastal's got a huge conference game next week. They play JMU on Thursday, so probably a look ahead. So I'm not going to take Coastal here. The spot to fade ODU is next week. Third straight road game. They're at Georgia State, who will be off of a bye. Huge rest advantage. So we'll fade ODU next week. Not
here
right
we
now.
go. Are we all getting on the square bus for this next one? 14.5 Clemson and FSU. I'm on there too.
I don't care. I don't care if it's 100% of the public. I'm taking Clemson.
I'm on it.
Yeah. Florida State is quit. Florida State is done.
Also, Clemson is actually a good football team. Like I thought they were.
Since the
I thought they were going to be dead. Dabo's dead. Kate Klubnik and Garrett Riley are actually playing 21st century football, and
there's
always good.
There's no way. There's no way. I don't care. And if I'm wrong, I don't care either.
Who's that backup quarterback? I don't know his name, but that would be the only factor where you're like, he's the unknown. We're like, we've watched this Florida State team play time and time again and say, no way they lose to that team. No way they don't cover. And
are we done saying that though?
But DJU has been the constant. That other quarterback plays, like that's a factor you don't really know.
Is it Brock Glenn or
Georgia? Yeah, Brock Glenn played against Georgia in the Orange Bowl. He went 9 of 26 with 139 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
What about Krummenhoek?
Also, Georgia's defense out to prove something.
Yeah, but Clemson's got a good defense too.
Clemson does have a good defense.
I'll take Clemson.
I'm on Clemson.
But I'll flip it here. Public obviously been riding Tennessee this whole thing. I'll take the Pigs at home. Pigs are covering the spread. I'll probably buy it to 14 or 14.5, just to be safe. But yeah, I do. The Pigs are a good team. I'm worried a little bit about them coming off an emotional loss. But I didn't think Tennessee looked like unbeatable against Oklahoma, and I don't think Oklahoma is much better than Arkansas.
Well, I don't think Tennessee. Yeah. I think if you watch that Tennessee-Oklahoma game, I mean, Oklahoma at every waking turn shot themselves. I mean, Jackson Arnold doesn't deserve a starting job until he can, sing Kumbaya with everybody. That guy's an absolute, I don't want to say punk, but like he just handled that in the worst way possible. I agree though that I don't think Tennessee's win over Oklahoma was that impressive. It wasn't even that Oklahoma's a bad football team because their defense is good, held Nico in check for the most part. It was a couple of incredible plays by Nico, and Jackson Arnold sucks.
It sounds obvious to say this, but Arkansas has got to make sure they stay in this in the first half because Tennessee's been so good in first half. So they don't have to play hard second half. They kept Oklahoma at arm's length for most of the second half. So make Tennessee work in the second half. Go to halftime close and make Tennessee actually work for it. But I do want to take the Hogs here. I haven't yet though.
I'm going to take the Hogs.
Here's another home dog right here.
Yeah, I'll double dip here. I went Minnesota and Wisconsin last week. Minnesota beat Michigan, or didn't beat Michigan, but covered against Michigan. And then Wisconsin should have damn covered, but they get, blown out in the second half after leading for a large part of that game. I'll go back to the well though. Minnesota at home, 8.5. I think they're gonna keep it close.
Yeah. We just saw USC off 2 big games, and they got Penn State next week. It's a great sandwich spot. And also, Minnesota can actually run the ball pretty well. I think Darius Taylor is a pretty good running back for Big Ten standards. Everyone in America knew that Michigan could not throw a forward pass, and all they were going to do is run, and they still ran all over USC. And I think Minnesota just could do the same thing. Is probably the recipe. So, it's gross. But
while I agree with you, I'm going to be on USC. I was on USC last week. I was on Minnesota last week. I think that Lincoln Riley was a complete buffoon. when it comes to, the Michigan game plan, in my opinion. I think that if he had another shot at it, he would absolutely wreck them. I still don't think Michigan's a good football team. I think they got a couple of first-round guys, and that's it. And I think Minnesota, that was a good cover by them, but I'm still a Michigan hater. I think they suck. I think if USC had it over again, they would still be favored in Ann Arbor, I think. So I'm going to be on USC. I still love Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. Minnesota's beating USC. I'm tired of this USC homer shit.
And then USC turns around and beats Penn State.
Yeah,
that is something that nobody would be surprised about.
Here we go. This might be rat line of the week. Washington 2.5-point favorites over Michigan. If you think Michigan,
this started.
See, I like Michigan here though.
This started at Washington +5, and I loved it. And then as soon as it opened, it went down to -2.5. So I'll probably stay off of it.
Yeah,
no,
I like Michigan here.
You like Michigan? All right. Why? I'll say I have two favorite bets. My favorite bets this week. Washington's one of them. I think the spot is perfect. We mentioned it last week. Michigan almost let that Minnesota game slip through their fingers. Minnesota outgained them. I mean, it lost the turnover battle. Minnesota was right there in the end. And Washington, meanwhile, is really close to being undefeated. I think people might kind of have thrown them away. Now they've lost 2 games. They outgained Wazoo. They outgained Rutgers and their losses. And they got stuffed at 4th and goal for Washington State. They were right there. And then last week, I don't know if people saw this, Friday night, they dominated Rutgers in every aspect of the game and lost by 3 because they missed 3 field goals. Like Washington really should have won. I have no idea how they lost. The program, I think, is just hyped for this game. National champs, the rematch at home. This is Michigan's first road game of the year. How do they handle the environment like that? Better coach or better quarterback?
Pathetic. That is pathetic.
That is
what?
pathetic.
They haven't played one fucking road game yet.
That's and it's a new roster. How are they going to? You have no idea how they're going to handle a huge primetime environment like this.
I know exactly how they're going to
shit the bed.
Sharon Moore's a bad head coach. They're going to.
I love Washington. Yeah, I love Washington here. Better.
I switch sides. I'm with you.
I'll hop on the Huskies with you.
I'm with you.
All aboard, Huskies! Oh,
I don't know. I can't believe I just said fuck Michigan, and then I said, all right, I like him here. No,
I can't believe you said you liked him.
Screw Michigan. Well, everything you just said. Part of me thought it was at Ann Arbor. I don't have that on my phone.
Nevada and San Jose State. Baylor and Iowa State. Ooh, Baylor. You guys suck.
Baylor.
Yeah. That
Baylor,
really.
You guys suck.
They
Baylor's
still
banned.
almost covered. They still almost came back and covered. It's very Georgia Alabama of that game.
I don't know how Dave Aranda still has a job. Bring him back to LSU. Let him coach that defense again.
Florida and UCF. Florida 3-point dogs in the swamp.
I'm dangerously close to tapping a little something on Florida.
Really?
Dangerously close.
So you know what this made me think?
Go ahead.
This made me think of, do you remember last year with Arkansas, where Arkansas basically they beat Kent State and they beat Western Carolina and they lost to every single competent team they played until Florida, basically. But it was like midway through the season, we were like, Arkansas loses to every competent team. What if that's Florida this year? Florida loses to every competent team they play,
except Arkansas.
Except Arkansas by who? But I think this is UCF. This is UCF for me all the way.
Come on, buddy.
Quiet down, buddy.
We're almost done.
And it's a bounce back. I mean, they look.
If you watched that UCF Colorado game,
I did. Unfortunately, that
had the bus. I mean, right out of the gate, UCF was behind the 8 ball. Colorado went up 14-0 before they even blinked. So I don't think UCF is as bad as that score or that game may have indicated. And I'm still, Florida's one really bad loss from firing Billy Napier in season. I mean, we all know he's gone after the season, but I figured you'd just give him the rest of the season. They're one bad loss away, especially it's going to be the one in the swamp from getting him fired. And this looks like it could be it.
This could be it. Yeah.
Duke and Georgia Tech -9.5. Give me Duke.
I got
The system play is Georgia Tech and Rutgers should be bet at the exact same rate. If Rutgers and Tech are favorites, don't even think about it. If they're underdogs, hammer it.
Sure. I got Georgia Tech at -7. Duke is the luckiest team. I think the most lucky undefeated team I've ever seen through this point in the season.
They are.
There's absolutely no way they should be undefeated.
This was my second favorite one after Washington. I think Georgia Tech wins big. I'm playing them alternate like -16.5 or something. I mean, Duke is just.
You're playing them alternate.
I'm playing alternate. I'm taking Georgia Tech -17 for plus money, -20. I mean, Duke was down 20-0 last week.
Yep.
UNC totally just blew the game in every aspect. And Georgia Tech,
They can salt it away with a run if they get a lead.
2 weeks ago, Georgia Tech played Louisville pretty close. That final score was a little bit misleading, and they're off a bye here at home. It's everything about it. I love it. Love Georgia Tech.
Hawaii and San Diego State.
And I love Hawaii here too. Underdog. They'll win outright. San Diego State's horrible. Hawaii will at least Hawaii will sling it around. They get into opponents' backfields, which is nice. They're off a bye. They've got 2 weeks to prepare. And then as far as travel to the mainland is concerned for them, this is the shortest trip you're going to get. I think they win outright. I love it.
Kansas and Arizona State.
Is Kansas the most disappointing team compared to expectation, other than Florida State?
This has got to be the latest primetime game or college game day game of all time.
Miami and Cal.
Oh God, yeah, it's
10:30.
10:30.
Miami and Cal.
Maybe
Miami
there's been one in Hawaii.
Miami coming off that near loss where they lost and then won. Big emotional game. They should have lost. Yeah,
they should have lost.
They were cheated.
Cal's been better.
No, that was not a catch. That was not a catch.
Yes,
it wasn't a catch, but they called it.
It wasn't a catch, and they made the right decision, though they broke the rules.
That's what happened. Yes.
Yeah. No, I like Cal. This is a fun game to me. I love Cal here.
Dude, I
like Cal too. Miami's defense sucks.
I followed half a dozen Cal Twitter accounts that are just, it's the talk of the town in college football world. They are absolutely hilarious. I saw some communists versus Coke dealers T-shirts.
Yeah.
It's just
Coke.
I'm on Cal too. I'm on Cal too. I also like the over.
If I'm having a good day, I'll sprinkle some on Cal at the end of the
I just think Miami's defense is really bad.
If I'm not down, I'll probably bet the Hurricanes.
Cam Ward is a god.
Only because I have Cam Ward future.
Cam Ward's a god. He's gonna put up 35 points here. But Miami's defense is not good. And then the last game
I was gonna say, I said in the offseason, Cal, the big thing for them is if Wilcox got their defense back to normal the way it had been because they slipped last year, if they got him back, that they could improve a ton, and they haven't given up more than 14 points this year. This will be the test, obviously, but sharp money's on Cal.
Cam Ward is absolutely unbelievable. He is.
And then give me Texas Tech over Arizona for the last game.
Oh, really? Okay. I love Arizona. I'm going with Arizona.
Give me Texas Tech. Texas Tech's going to win this football game. Arizona overrated as shit.
All right. Fair.
That's my breakdown of it. All right, that wraps up our show. Let's win some money, baby. And hopefully it comes down. Hopefully we all have winning days and we can just throw money at Cal and Arizona and Texas Tech at 11 o'clock after a few beverages.